here I am making some nice shapes out of this container. What it is the cover that came with a piece of card slotted up the back, and in between were some little bottles. I think they were Tim Holtz little bottles, little glass ones with corks in, and I thought, whoa, they'd make a lovely nice little block of something or other, maybe resistors or something for steampunky things. So that's what I'm doing. Unfortunately, I'm using heavy carvable modelling paste, which is gel based and therefore of a plasticky sort of nature, and the damn thing's going to stick so firmly to that plastic I still haven't been able to get it out. So that's a big mistake, but don't worry, I have a fix for this, so that I still get some nice little chunky thingies out of the shape. You'll see. Yeah, gonna put it somewhere on there. And now I'm going to cut out these bits of foam, like packaging that my husband had at work, brought home for me. Cut out lots of these little shapes, and then I'll stick them down on the canvas. And I decided I wanted a different shape, so I used some of that jar to make a different shape. Positioning them, or deciding where I'm going to position them, change my mind, and then some bits out of the junk drawer of my friend, who was throwing stuff away. He said, help yourself to anything you want, so I did, and these are some of the bits with the nice shapes. I don't end up using all of them, but most of them. And I'm just sticking everything down, which we won't bore you with, but here's the solve. I used the back of this bit of plastic, used some 2-part mould putty and made a mould of it, and then yay, I can use it. Now that stuff is not heavy carvable modelling paste, that is polyfiller, or rather Wix's own brand polyfiller. It's that same stuff. It's a really fine crack filler that goes on your walls when you've got a really fine crack, or a crack that you want to cover and make it really fine. The surface fine. There is me looking at some browns, various colours, and I'm painting with them. Here we start, and then we'll move on to later on. You don't want to watch paint dry, do you? There we go, doing a bit more, getting to the end of that bit. Then I go on to some blues, which are quite pale here. I do go on and darken them later on. But there we are. I've gone from the greeny blue to the more bluey blue. And another colour. Purple. And there we are, after I've covered the rest of it. Me just sort of blending it in, or not blending it in as the case may be, just blocks of colour. They do blend in eventually when I finish putting another layer on. I just keep going until it looks right. And I'll darken the brown as well, and I also go over everything to dry it in the meantime with a heat gun. And in doing so, I noticed that either the paint or that blue foam bubbles up beautifully and gives absolutely wonderful texture. You might be able to see it a bit later on when we get closer to the darker colours. Now here I'm using iron, which is a paint with powdered metal in it. Swellegant is the range. It's quite expensive paint, but I'm putting it on here because I want this to actually rust. I could have left the other bits unpainted and simply used the patina on those as well, but I didn't. So, there you go. Now it's after using this darker brown that things start to get a nice bit of crunch. There you can just about see some nice crunch on that triangle, perhaps. And you need to put 3 layers of this iron paint on, so there's me putting a bit more on. And after the 3rd layer, which is me putting it on there, after that 3rd layer, the next thing is we start putting patina on. here we are, putting some patina on. Now that's Tiffany rust, because I want the iron to rust. So put that on, and I put some dye oxides on as well. And the dye oxides enhance the different colours. I think that's sky blue patina actually. I put a bit of that on as well. Yeah. I think that's actually a mixture of a patina and a dye oxide because it's so colourful. Now this one's blood red, and I think the other one I use is, that's Chartreuse, my favourite. I absolutely love that. It goes on beautifully, and it highlights little crevices and creases with this lovely punchy green. I'll put some more of that on later, which you may or may not actually see me do, but I do. Now here I'm darkening the colours and giving them more vibrancy, because I haven't put this blue on accidentally. I put it on because I really wanted it, so I may as well make sure it's on in nice depth of colour. Oh, the light flashing around the place. I'm wearing a head torch. It's something that I just find is so easy to use, and it means that I can see exactly what I'm looking at. And now that I've had my eyes done, I need that little extra help with this sort of distance of work. So you may now and then see it, and you can see the bubbles on that blue there. Look, when I'm tilting it. That's from the heat gun. Lovely. I do like that sort of thing. It's catching the top of the bubbly rust on bubbly texture on that piece of foam. There's a bit where I touched it. Yeah. There we go. Not looking too bad at all. And about that point, I send it off.